Thank you so much to those of you who are joining us. My name is Jessica, and I'm pleased to be your host for today's retail management session, which is part of Ryerson's virtual open house, which is taking place this week, November 9th to 13th, as well as next week, November 16th to 20th. Ryerson has shifted to an essential services model to help prevent the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is why we are on your screens with you and not with you in person. We have put together a series of virtual sessions in order to share information and connect with you on a virtual level. So we're really excited to be having you here with us today. Now, there are many sessions taking place across these 2 weeks, so we do encourage you to visit our website and register for any other sessions that may be of interest to you. Now, I'm going to go through a few Zoom housekeeping tips for those of you who may be new to this platform. We encourage you to ask questions throughout this session. There is a chat box which is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. This is a Zoom meeting, so we are going to be using the chat function as a way to connect with one another. Keep in mind that there is an option to connect with hosts and a private message. I do encourage you to send messages to the larger groups so that we can all see the questions, and that way we can all get to answer those questions as well. If you happen to have any audio or video issues, you can also flag that in the chat as well. And you can also rearrange your screen any way that you like. So if you want to make things bigger or smaller, it's totally up to you. It's not going to adjust anything else that anyone else can see. This presentation is also being closed captioned to ensure accessibility. So if you do require closed captioning, please select that option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Please also note that this is being recorded, and all of our recordings for our virtual open house sessions will be made available on our website in the coming weeks. We will not have the chat function as something that is going to be recorded. So if you happen to get a really great answer or you get a link sent to you in the chat, feel free to click on that and save it or take a picture or screenshot as well. Now, on the next slide, you will see the land acknowledgement. So to start this session, I would like to take a moment here, to acknowledge the land in which our university exists. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans and all newcomers, have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Now, as much as this session is about us and getting to know Ryerson, we'd also like to get to know you as well. So I'm going to be launching our first poll to get a feel for who's joining us today, whether it be prospective students or university college transfers, parents, or guardians. So feel free to please vote in the poll. I'll leave this up on the screen for a few seconds here. Awesome. Great. So thanks again for joining us today. I would like to turn things over to Sean now to take away from the presentation.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jessica. And thank you to Catherine and Sam and everyone behind the scenes here who are helping us prepare today's session and answer questions. My name's Sean Selesky. I'm the manager of program design here in what I'd like to call the most dynamic academic program at Ryerson, the Ted Rogers School of Retail Management. And I'm joined by 4 of my colleagues, our director, Dr. Mark Lee, one of our faculty members, Dr. Jenna Jacobson, and 2 of our students, Sabrina Bender and Adriana Martinez. And I'd like to give each of them a moment to just say hello and introduce themselves, starting with Mark Lee, our director. Mark.
Hello, my name's Mark. I'm the director of the Retail Management Program. I'm thrilled that all of you can join us today. And throughout this presentation, we'll hope to give you information about our dynamic program, as Sean has mentioned. And we're really excited about the growth and potential opportunities that our program can provide for you. So hopefully you'll enjoy the session today and get to meet some of our future leaders. Sabrina, Adriana are phenomenal students who have experience in our program, and also getting an opportunity to meet Dr. Jenna Jacobson, one of our emerging scholars in our field.
Thank you, Mark. Jenna, would you like to say hello to the group?
Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Jenna Jacobson, as Mark Lee introduced. I'm a faculty member here and one of the many faculty members that you will have the opportunity to meet if you choose to join us here in retail management. My research focuses on social media and digital retailing, which means I get to teach some amazing classes such as social media marketing and digital advertising, which you'll get to hear about a little bit later in the presentation.
Thank you, Jana. And Sabrina, president of our Retail Students Association. Sabrina, say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today and a pleasure to speak to you. My name is Sabrina Bender. I am in my 4th year of the Retail Management Program at Ryerson. I'm also this year's president of the Retail Students Association, as Sean just mentioned. And it's otherwise known as the RSA, and it is the official course union for the Retail Management Program. The RSA basically represents the retail management student body, and we also host events for students throughout the academic year. These events aim to connect students with the retail industry and encourage them to learn outside of the classroom. Although all of our events are online this year, we have adjusted to the current format and are doing our best to provide students with panel discussions, workshops, and a conference that provides a valuable experience for all. I chose Ted Rogers School of Management personally because I graduated from a college program where I studied fashion business, and I wanted to obtain my undergrad degree in order to further grow and enhance my business skills and be better equipped to excel in my career. That being said, I can safely say that choosing the retail management program was the best academic decision that I have made, and I have grown exponentially as a professional and an individual since I began at Ryerson.
Excellent. Thank you, Sabrina. And last but not least, we have Adriana, also from the RSA.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for being here and having me here as well. Sabrina gave a really great introduction into the RSA. And I will just start off by saying that I am the Executive Vice President of the RSA this year. So it's been really great working alongside Sabrina, and it has just been an amazing opportunity to connect with retail students of all years and work together to create valuable events for the TRSRM community. So I'm a 4th year retail management student, and I'm pursuing a minor in e-commerce. I've worked in retail for over 6 years, and I've learned many skills on the floor, and that's what really just made me want to decide to pursue retail a bit further and go into the retail management program. And with my e-commerce minor, all the classes that I've been taking in the retail management program has really just led me down that path, and I've been really grateful that I've been able to explore it. And I'm currently working at building an e-commerce platform for an interior design firm, and I'm still working on the sales floor because I love retail so much. I can never get away from it. But yeah, thank you.
Perfect. And you'll be hearing from all 4 of my colleagues throughout this presentation. So as Jess and Catherine have mentioned, please feel free to send us your questions through the chat throughout the session, and we'll have some time at the end as well to follow up on any last minute questions that you have. But with that, Catherine, can we advance to the next slide and begin the presentation, please? All right. You don't need to play the video. I've got a few examples of some of our alumni spread throughout this presentation. This is Kritzia, who works in e-retail and customer relationship management for Chanel. And I put this here because if you are interested in what some of the alumni from the retail management program are doing, on our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Ryerson Retail, you can find about a dozen examples of alum who graduated as far back as I think 2006 is our first one that's on the YouTube site, up to 2017. So you can get a sense of where people like Kritzia are working, the types of roles and the variety of things they're doing, from grocery and consumer packaged goods to working in e-commerce to managing stores to working as national corporate offices for shopping center management companies, and many, many more career opportunities. So check that out. And one of the things that Kritzia mentions in this video is that she learned about just sort of being open to unexpected opportunities. And that's one of the things that I think many of our students comment on or discover as they launch their careers, that you might have a particular aspect of retail in mind as you're thinking about, entering the program next year or in the future. And once you're in the program, you'll learn about so many different areas of retail that you maybe hadn't considered before, and they might spark an interest that ends up leading into a really great career idea. So again, that's youtube.com/Ryerson Retail. Let's move to the next one, please, Catherine. We are Canada's first and largest Bachelor of Commerce degree in retail in the country. There are a couple of other programs that offer, or the universities that offer similar programs, but we're the only one where you specialize in some retail courses right from your first year in the degree. And you'll really learn about blending theory and practice. We bring a lot of industry, guest speakers, projects and things right into the class. So you're really kind of combining all the things that you're learning about from the retail theory side of things and looking at how those apply to the real world and actually working with retail brands like a Loblaw or a Joe Fresh or an Aldo or many more. So it's really focused on how to bring all the elements of running a retail business together from across all different functional areas, merchandising and buying, marketing and operations and supply chain and digital retail, in looking at all of our grads as the future leaders of the industry. Catherine, can we go to the next one, please? So I'm going to throw this to Mark in a second, but one of the things that is really a foundational piece of our program is that it was created with input from the industry right in the first days. And we have a very strong program advisory council with representatives from the senior executive ranks of each of the companies that you see on the screen here and several more. One of the things we've just launched is a new mentoring program through the program advisory council. And I'd like to ask Mark to maybe take a minute to tell you a little bit more about some of the ways that we connect with each of these partners.
Thank you, Sean. As Sean mentioned, we have a very vibrant advisory board. This is actually atypical of departments. It's not every day that you see a department that is really backed by some of the strong executive leaders in the industry. And as Sean has mentioned, we actually launched a new pilot program, a mentoring program, and Sabrina and Adriana is part of it. Where they would get one-on-one mentoring opportunities with high-level executives in these companies. So imagine yourself sitting in a virtual room at this point, having a conversation with Vice President of Loblaws or Vice President of Costco, or digital retailing expert at Tulip. Many different companies and advisory board members are yearning to meet with students. And these advisory board members have given us opportunities for internships, given positions for co-ops, and awards and scholarships as well, which Sean will talk about later. I don't know about you, but when I was an undergraduate student, I never thought I would get an opportunity to meet someone who could mentor me about a career in retail. And let alone have someone who would be able to meet that's really in the industry, that's making an impact. So I feel that this is, we have lots of unique propositions that this program offers. And this mentoring program is one of the highlights that we hope that students can take advantage of.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Mark. So a little bit about retail. One of the things that we talk about in our classes and with our advisory council members and alum is about all of the unseen sides of retail and some of the things that you might not expect about opportunities that are available. This is a slide that is couple of years old now. Angela Herntz has recently moved on from Apple, but we include this because it highlights that while she was the vice president of retail at Apple, running the Apple stores and e-commerce channels, that she actually earned more than the CEO, Tim Cook. So when you think about the opportunities and whether retail careers can be lucrative, that's just one of many examples of some of the ways that you can have really amazing, successful careers in areas that you might not associate with the way that we see retail as consumers. So next slide, please, Catherine. A little bit about the difference between our program and some of the business or marketing programs you might find at other universities is even within the Ted Rogers School of Management, we have a great marketing program within our School of Business Management, and looking at some of the overlap and differences between our program and traditional marketing, that it's sometimes easiest to think about what versus how in terms of in our retail program, we're looking at what and how consumers are shopping, how we're designing stores, what products and services are available to customers to buy, what are the channels that they're purchasing from. Are they buying through a website? Are they buying on a mobile app? Are they actually going to stores and making purchases? Or are they clicking from a home and going and collecting from the store in person without actually setting foot inside the store? So our program looks at all the elements of what we're selling, how consumers are buying it, and how we're interacting with them on a daily basis. Whereas in the marketing program, you look a little bit at why people are buying these things and some of the consumer behavior theories. Now, there's certainly some overlap. You learn bits of both of those in each program, but that's one way to kind of distinguish the core area that you'll focus on in the retail program versus a general marketing degree. Mark, do you have anything you want to add to that, having experience with both programs?
Well, I think one of the things that individuals should be mindful of is that retail, we're learning about the sector as a whole. So when we think about marketing, you're learning a discipline, but in retail program, you're going to be learning about all areas of business, but it's more in a retail context. So we're still going to cover topics like consumer insights. I personally teach the consumer insights course in this program, but we're also going to learn about supply chain. We're also going to learn about digital components. We're also going to learn about private labels, merchandising. So there are many different, I think it gives you a more well-rounded view of how a business functions. And that's one of the strengths of our program. Some may see it as it's more general, but the way we see it is that you get to see all the different components that a retailer has to deal with on a regular basis. And when we speak of retailers, we're not just talking about the big box retailers that you may be familiar on an everyday basis. We have courses and conversations and discussions about startups. We also talk about digital companies as well. We understand that Amazon and Shopify is changing the way that consumers are purchasing. So we acknowledge that their retail is evolving, and we want to make sure that our program is in the forefront of that trend.
Absolutely. And so we get asked a lot about retail focusing on a specific sector versus sort of a general marketing degree. And the way we would position that is that in retail, you're looking at an industry specific program that's broad and spans all different functional areas, as Mark said, from marketing to supply chain to operations to buying and merchandising to digital and all of those pieces, but with the lens of retail consumers, retail suppliers, and all the pieces that go into the retail sector, versus a discipline-specific program like marketing, where you're looking at marketing across any sector, but you're focused primarily on marketing functions and the role that marketers will have within companies and organizations going forward. Okay, Catherine, can we move to the next slide, please? This is another example of one of our alum, Daniel Vezer, who's a buyer at TJX Canada, which operates the Winners, Marshalls, and HomeSense banners. And he's another one of the videos you can find on our YouTube channel who talk a little bit about some of the things he does in that role. And buying is certainly an area that's a hot topic among many of our prospective and current students. So if you're interested in that area, check out Daniel on the YouTube channel as well. Okay, so just a little bit about some innovations and trends, and in a minute I'm going to throw this to Sabrina or Adriana to maybe talk about some of the things that they've discussed recently in the classroom in terms of trends that are happening in the retail industry. But some of the things that we've seen over the last couple of years are things like the concept of the shrinking middle, where consumers are looking more to, aspirational purchases and buying luxury items, or looking for everyday value items and shopping less of those sort of mid-priced retailers or product categories. There's also been focus in some areas on sustainability and a circular economy and sort of our impact as consumers on the environment, or extending that in terms of thinking about social responsibility issues across the board, whether it's human rights issues and labor practices and diversity and all those areas. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in an upcoming slide. And certainly the way that retailers are integrating and experimenting with technology is constantly changing, whether it's technology in stores, whether it's digital tools that are available either to work with or engage with customers directly through mobile commerce and augmented reality and virtual reality types of programs, or using big data and analytics to try and figure out where they should be placing their next bets in terms of products and investments in the retail business as a whole. And looking at customer journeys across all of those formats, and not just whether people are buying online or whether they're buying in stores, but really blending that together as looking at sort of a holistic journey that we all take throughout our lives, and sometimes buying things through one format and sometimes in another, and how that all fits together and is constantly changing and evolving. So with that, Sabrina or Adriana, would either of you like to offer an example of something that you've discussed recently, whether it's this semester or last year in some of your courses, around some of the trends and how that impacts what you're doing in buying or in operations management or other areas?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, Serena. I had an example from last year. So I took a course, category management, and through that, I learned a bit more about what private label is and just how important that is in the grocery industry, and how it's growing. So that was something that we had talked about in some first year courses, some second year, but that's when I learned more about it. And then through that, and just hearing about how grocery stores are really growing their private label in many different categories, it made me very curious and interested in how and why they do that. And I took then private label course, which was an amazing course where we developed a product with President's Choice. It was a 20-person class, was really hands-on, and then that's where we really explored the whole concept of private label, especially within the grocery industry. And I think that's just a really interesting trend that's happening, and I think that it's going to continue to grow. So that's the first thing that came to my head.
That's a great example. And we did, a couple of years ago, we took a field trip with a number of students to the Loblaw head office, where one of our alumni at the time was responsible for launching their new private label ice cream products, their black label, so their high-end ice cream products, and took all the students into their test kitchen and were sampling different flavors of premium ice cream as part of a demonstration of what her job is all about. So some fun sort of unexpected sides to that as well. So one other thing that I want to point out in this slide before we move on is just the importance of these trends and the impact on the economy overall. As retail is the largest employer in the country, and you can see that sales here, now this is from I think 2019, but sales are hundreds of billions of dollars. So you're looking at career opportunities and joining a dynamic industry that's a major factor in the overall economic health of the country. Okay, next slide, please, Catherine. This is Einem. He's one more example of our alum. He works at a company called Nielsen, who are really working with retail clients and consumer packaged goods companies and a number of other big businesses and brands. And they're really kind of the data side of things, looking at broad market level trends and selling that data back to their customers, who are retailers, to try and understand where they should be going in terms of developing their new products and what consumers are doing kind of at a market level across all different retail banners. And so again, if you check out the YouTube channel, you can hear a little more about what Einem does. And one of the things that he mentioned in this quote here is that part of the way he landed his job at Nielsen was because of the retail management degree that was noted on his resume. And his hiring manager said, gee, I haven't interviewed anyone for this role this year who had that. And that's exactly who I need someone to be able to engage with and work with, as our customers are all big retailers. And so he really felt that having a specific retail focused degree helped him to land a job in a really interesting field and company. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So I'll take a few minutes to talk about the curriculum, and I'm going to hand this over to Jenna in a minute to talk about maybe some examples from some of the courses she teaches and some of the really interesting and innovative class projects that she incorporates. But our curriculum starts off, as I mentioned, with a couple of retail courses right from year one. You do issues and innovations and intro to retail and services management in your first year. And you also lay the foundation for your Bachelor of Commerce degree. So you'll be taking introductory marketing courses and human resources courses. There's a stats course and an accounting course and so on. So you're really kind of laying the foundation for both your intro to retail and to a BCom degree overall. And with that, one of the questions we get asked about a lot are sort of some of the requirements for coming into the program and courses that you're taking in high school. So you'll see we have a poll launched here in terms of your favorite subject in school, and we can maybe talk a little bit more about how some of those tie into the courses within our curriculum. Once you get into second year, you really are focusing more on buying and retail operations and retail information systems and technology and sort of the fundamentals of retail before your third and fourth year, where you start to choose more electives and doing advanced courses, some of the things that Jenna will talk to you about that she teaches. And you also get an opportunity to choose other business courses or other courses from around the university that can lead you to minors in things like fashion or marketing or e-business or human resources or many other topics. And we'll talk about minors a little bit going forward. But it looks like on this poll, we've got a great mix of examples of favorite courses in business studies, whether that's accounting or entrepreneurship or marketing, social sciences, philosophy. We had Harry Rosen, the person who founded the company, Harry Rosen Menswear, talk about, the most important course he took in school was actually a sociology course where he learned about, thinking about some of the ways that people are thinking and some of the things that he should keep in mind about his own customers and consumers. So this is great to have a sense of some of your favorites in school. Jenna, would you like to talk a little bit about some of the courses you teach and maybe an example of a project from your class?
Sure. So one of the great things about our program is that, considering we're housed in the Ted Rogers School of Management, which is one of the largest programs, the largest undergraduate programs, retail management tends to be a smaller program, which means that you have the opportunity to really connect and get to know each of your professors. Dr. Mark Lee is infamous for knowing all of the students' names in his classes, and this one-to-one connection is something that we really pride ourselves on. The courses that I teach are not only just the courses that you see here, but also some of the amazing electives that we have. So I teach courses like social media marketing, digital advertising, as well as other classes that are related to the digital retailing space. And this is really important because as a retail school, we recognize that, of course, retail refers to the brick and mortar stores that we go to, our grocery stores, the stores on the main street, but also all of the amazing innovations that are taking place online with retailers like Amazon and Shopify and other e-commerce retailers and startups. So my classes are really focused on teaching these fundamental ideas in a changing society, but then also applying these ideas to these hands-on, what I would consider really fun projects. So for example, in one of my classes, students get certified in Google Ads, and they work in teams. Students are working with real not-for-profit organizations, and each team receives $10,000 in advertising money, in real advertising money, to actually plan, launch, and measure an advertising campaign. So students are leaving this class with this hands-on knowledge to then perhaps get positions as a freelancer who's doing perhaps some work in digital ads, or perhaps in an advertising company themselves. So in many of our classes, we are teaching the fundamental skills and the things that you're going to need to have a long, sustained career in retail. But also, a lot of our projects focus on these hands-on applied projects so that you can hit the ground running when you graduate and get that that's very first position so that you are well positioned to enter into this dynamic industry.
Excellent. Thank you, Jenna. And those are some examples of, across many of our courses, we have some really interesting projects and activities and things that you work on, similar to the Google Ads project, or not similar, different types of projects, but really innovative and career relevant types of projects and assignments you'll be working on. Okay, so Catherine, can we move to the next slide, please? I want to talk a little bit about some experiential examples and things that we have both within the curriculum. We've touched on a little bit through both Jenna and Adriana's examples, as well as some of the things that we do outside of the curriculum. And maybe I'll call on Sabrina to speak to this in a moment in terms of some of the things that we do, whether it's through the RSA or in particular, last year we took a group of students to Vancouver to visit head offices of Lululemon, Aritzia, Hootsuite, who make social media management software, and visited many other sort of local retailers. We will visit a museum to learn more about Indigenous fashion, and really offer kind of experiential trips throughout the curriculum or throughout the program as both curricular and extracurricular opportunities. So there's always lots of things that are happening in terms of really bringing students to look and meet with industry members and see how things are happening, whether it's in corporate offices or on the ground level and visiting different stores and distribution centers, and going both domestically and internationally on travel study trips. So Sabrina, can you talk to us a little bit about the experience last year in Vancouver in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. So Vancouver, last year we went with a group of, I think, 12 students approximately. And we basically traveled, we stayed down in downtown Vancouver in like the heart of everything. And on this trip, we had the opportunity to experience a bunch of head offices that a lot of the students actually aspire to work for, or are really interested in learning their strategies and their techniques and how they do things. So that was really cool. We actually got to visit, my top two personally were Aritzia and Lululemon, really successful and powerful Canadian fashion companies. Going to these offices and hearing from some of their executives and employees was really valuable, I think, for all of the students, because we had a chance to hear about how they got to where they are, and what Aritzia is doing to move forward, or what Lululemon is doing to move forward. And all of the companies that we visited were very, very generous in the information that they provided us, and giving us tours of their offices. And I think it's safe to say that every student left each office feeling super inspired and just really ready to kind of take on the industry, and maybe learned a little bit more about themselves in the process. Aside from the offices, we actually had a lot of free time as well to explore the vibrant city of Vancouver. It's beautiful. It's nothing like Toronto here. It was really interesting to see kind of a whole different side to Canada. And yeah, we got to explore all the different food they had to offer, some of the cool retail areas and storefronts. And yeah, I mean, it was amazing all around. I would do it over again if I had the chance to. So if you do decide to enroll in this program, I would highly suggest the retail experiential trip.
Thank you, Sabrina. And this was a trip that's kind of an optional opportunity, but we have a number of opportunities that are blended right into the curriculum in some years as well. You'll see the example of the luxury sector studies course from a couple of years ago, where students actually did a project with Louis Vuitton and then traveled to New York City to visit their office and flagship store there. We've had a course that's taken students 3 different times to China and to 3 different markets in China to meet with companies that are operating there, either selling back to North America and around the world, or domestic retailers in China, and learning more about some of the things that are happening in what's becoming the largest consumer market in the world, and growing exponentially every year. So lots of really interesting opportunities to get out and explore the world, either through courses or extracurricular opportunities like the one Sabrina just discussed. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about Indigenous issues and diversity and how that relates to our curriculum, as well as some of the events that we do within the School of Retail. And one area that another one of our faculty is working on, several of our faculty are working on actually, is incorporating a look at how Indigenous retail and Indigenous fashion can fit within our curriculum in courses like our Intro Retail course and Retail Consumer Insights and our Issues and Innovations course. This is a photo from the Museum of Anthropology that we visited in Vancouver, where there's an entire exhibition about Indigenous fashion and textiles and things from primarily from Canada, but also from around the world. And maybe I can ask Mark to say a few words just about this area and how we're looking to incorporate more focus on the role that Indigenous business owners and retail play within the context of our curriculum.
Sure. Thank you, Sean. We understand that retail is not just about learning how to operate a business. Retailers are just as part of the community, and we need to be mindful of societal issues. We know that a couple of years ago that climate change was a big issue, and we acknowledge this, and we wanted to make sure that we emphasize and have a course on sustainability. We also wanted to acknowledge that there are a lot of different types of societal issues that are currently going on, whether it's related to health or related to racism. And we, acknowledging all of this, we need to make sure that our program is in forefront of these societal changes and societal issues. So to bring this to light, a couple of years ago, Dr. Janice Rutkowski was able to lead us in acquiring a grant from the Aboriginal Educational Council to integrate some Indigenous related curriculum into our program. So our goal in the upcoming year and onwards is to ensure that we have some content led by leaders in the Indigenous community so that we can make sure that our students are not just aware about the operations and the supply chain issues that going inside retail, but also how retailers impact the community, how retailers are part of the community. So in another news, we were able to just repurpose some of our curriculum funds to create a large significant amount of fund dedicated towards indigenous initiatives, and also created a diversity inclusion fund so that we can enhance our curriculum and be mindful of these societal issues that are very important to our community and to the retail community as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. All right, next slide, please. I alluded to minors earlier on, and Ryerson actually offers over 50 different subject minors that are available to you. You can see a few examples of the most popular ones among retail students here, but there are many more areas that you can do a minor in. A minor in Ryerson terms means that you're completing a total of 6 courses from a specific list of options that are related to that discipline. So for fashion studies, there are 10 or 12 different fashion courses that are on the fashion minor table. And if you complete 6 of those 10 or 12 at the time of graduation, you can graduate with a Bachelor of Commerce in Retail Management, as well as a minor in Fashion Studies. Marketing and Human Resources are 2 of the consistently most popular minors that many of our retail students are taking, but we have students taking minors in probably not all 50 areas, but pretty close to it. We've seen students in a variety of areas studying these subject minors. So if you're interested in kind of blending some expertise from a couple of different areas, looking at some of the minors that are available is one of the ways to do that within the confine or the context of your degree. Next slide, please. All right, so internships and co-ops and experiential learning in general is really an integral part of our program. All students in retail management are expected to do an internship as part of the curriculum in their 3rd and heading into their final year of the program. Or you can choose to enter our co-op program, and we're going to have a poll on screen now about your interest in co-op. And the main difference between internships and co-ops is the placement that you do in an internship is very similar to the type of placement you will do in a co-op, but internship students are required to do one placement of a minimum of 400 hours. So it's about a 3 to 4 month summer placement typically. And these are predominantly all paid roles. They can be corporate roles, they could be store level roles, but all with a learning plan in mind. So students will work with their supervisors to develop their own sort of personal development goals that align with what their role is going to be and what the objectives are of the team that they're joining. So they're not just doing a job in a store or going to fill a summer job in a corporate office, but they're actually going in with some proactive kind of development goals in mind to be able to walk away from at the end of the term and say, I achieved A, B, and C, and here was the results of my internship. Co-op, on the other hand, is something you apply to at the end of your first year of study. So you don't have to think about applying to that right out of high school, but as you're in your first year, you can start to explore, and we'll have different information sessions and things available to consider if the co-op stream is something you might want to consider. And co-op means that you have the opportunity to take 4 different experiential learning work placements. So again, 3 to 4 month placements, but they can take place in the fall, winter, and summer semesters. Now, because they're fall and winter semesters, they also extend your degree by a year. So it becomes a 5-year program, but in those fall and winter semesters while you're working, you're earning money. And you can see on the slide here that on average, students make anywhere from $26,000 to $36,000 and upwards over the course of those 4 work placements in co-op. So both really great programs, different reasons that students consider one or the other. And maybe I'll ask Sabrina to talk a little bit about the RMG 799 course, which is a course that's tied specifically to the internship and preparing students to find internships. And this past year with COVID, we adjusted the expectation for students to do placements in this course, where some were able to work from home and some worked on other projects in lieu of kind of the COVID situation. But Sabrina, can you talk a little bit about how that course works and your experience with RMG 799 and in thinking ahead to internships, and more long-term, how it relates to thinking ahead to your future career once you graduate?
Yeah, for sure. So the internship course, RMG 799, is actually very valuable. Basically, they prepare you, or the prof prepares all the students for the workplace, not only at their internship, but also for their career in general. So we go over basic things that you should know basically when interviewing, when applying for jobs, creating a resume. We go over stuff like that, like tweaking the resume and making sure it's customized to each job you apply for. We do some interview workshops, and also a big thing was Excel workshops, which a lot of employers look for when students apply for jobs. So that was really useful. We did, I think, about 7 classes just on Excel and basic things that you would need in the workplace. In terms of searching for the internship, the options are endless. You can search for them on your own as a student, and there are some that the prof sends to you every day, some options that basically connect with the Ryerson program and ask if Ryerson students need internships, and then you can apply through that. For myself personally, I didn't complete an internship last semester due to COVID-19, but I was planning to hopefully pursue a internship at Hudson's Bay Company in their buying department. So that's one of the very popular options among students that they apply for. And it's a great opportunity. And Hudson's Bay actually has an internship program that is tailored for students so that you're actually learning as much as you can. And they make it specifically so that it is most valuable to students, not that you're just getting coffee all the time. Some companies actually do this, the specific program, but some don't. Either way, you learn a lot through an internship. I did one before the Ryerson program as well. And no matter what, it's always just an amazing learning experience. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Sabrina. I see on the poll here, I'm not sure if all of you can see the results, but it looks like several of you are thinking about the co-op program, and some are considering it as a maybe. It's certainly not something that you need to make a determination about now, because you'll learn a lot more about that in your first year. But I know just as recently as this week, the results for students who are doing fall co-op placements right now is upwards of 90% in terms of employers who are really coming back and looking for students to come back into the workplace after sort of kind of an unusual summer in terms of co-op, but things are back, pretty much full steam ahead in terms of student opportunities on the co-op side of things. In terms of a question over here, I see from Susie about completing your co-op, but finishing within 4 years. It's generally the answer is that it takes 5 years. I can't think of a way to do it within 4 because you're taking an academic term in the fall and an academic term in the winter to do your 4 work terms. So if you're really focused on what you want to do when you graduate and want to get out and sort of hit the ground running and start your career as soon as possible, the internship stream and the 4-year program is probably the way to go. And that's one of the considerations that a lot of students make. Co-op is a great opportunity if you want to be able to work in multiple different roles or multiple different organizations and kind of experiment and experience different opportunities before making up your mind for what your first step will be after graduation. But in either event, I mean, students are still moving horizontally and from organization to organization regularly in the first few years of your career. So either option are good options to choose depending on what your goals and your personal context are. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please, Catherine. So this is the last example I have here of one of our alum. This is Maria, who graduated, I believe, in 2006 or 7, and she's the marketing director at Vaughan Mills Shopping Center and has worked primarily in the shopping center sector for most of her career since graduating. And she actually has hired several of our students as interns over the years. Shopping center management is something that may often fly kind of under the radar in terms of the way that we see shopping centers and malls as consumers, and they're certainly an area that are experiencing a lot of change and will probably have lots of different innovation and new business ideas going into what the shopping center of the future will look like. But this is really an area that a number of our alum have pursued and explored. I saw an update on LinkedIn today that one of our alum who works at a different property management company announced that there are pop-up shops that are all Star Wars themed that are opening up in one of the malls around the GTA. And so thinking about how you can bring your retail expertise to just as with a company like Nielsen, to the shopping center side of the business where your customers are other retailers as tenants, and developing programs for the community as a whole that are coming to the mall rather than working for an individual retail brand is something that a number of our alum have gone on to build great careers in. Okay, next slide, please. So one of the last things I want to talk about is some of the different software and tools and things that we integrate into our curriculum. So you can see a few examples here. Jenna has talked about Google Ads and how that is incorporated into one of the classes she teaches. We have a partnership with JDA Software. They've actually recently changed their name to Blue Yonder. So if you see that, you'll see them used interchangeably, but they develop space planning program and merchandise buying and assortment planning tools and a number of different things that are used by retailers throughout Canada and throughout the world. And we use tools like Tableau, things that can be things that you can access both through the curriculum as well as a number of boot camps that we have available in the Ted Rogers School of Management. And Tableau is an area that's really relevant to both retail students, marketing students, and across many areas for really kind of creating visual stories from data so that you're not just looking at spreadsheets, but you're actually able to derive insights and then share what those stories are with your executive teams, with potential clients, and so on. So there's a lot of different tools and things that are constantly being integrated into the curriculum, and things that you can learn about through workshops and programs at Ryerson beyond your formal degree courses as well. So something to consider when you're here is exploring some of the many boot camps and other areas that you can gain experience in some of these tools outside of your studies as well. Next slide, please, Catherine. Okay, so Maybe we'll talk with the students here as well about career options. I've given a few examples of some of the things our alum are already doing, but you can see a word cloud here of some of the things that come up most often when we ask students about what kinds of careers they're interested in the retail world, from buying and merchandise planning to being visual merchandisers to being social media specialists to category managers. I think Adriana mentioned having completed the category management course, to many other areas. And I'm going to hand the floor over to both Sabrina and Adriana, maybe to talk a little bit about, you can approach this however you like, maybe thinking about what some of your initial ideas were when you started in the program or before you started in the program about what career opportunities were interesting to you. And if that's still the same or if that's changed over time and now you're looking at other avenues that you maybe hadn't considered before.
I'll start off. So yeah, when I entered the program, definitely the biggest word there is buyer, and that's exactly what I thought that I wanted to be when entering the program. And it still definitely is an option, but I think I have been able to explore so many other areas within the retail industry that just intrigue me a bit more right now. And I think taking the buying classes was super helpful, and then moving into category management, and I got that CPCA certification, so I still have that on my resume. Moving into private label, all of that, I was able to really learn a lot about the buying section, but then my minor in e-commerce has always just really interested me. So definitely when I was taking that RMG 799 course, a really great tip in that class was just to really look at all the job descriptions, and I started doing that ahead of time when I was picking my classes, just to get a feel for what jobs I'm actually going to be doing look like and what kind of requirements there are. So when I was reading all the job descriptions, especially ones about e-commerce, that's what really intrigued me. So by the end of my e-commerce degree, I'll see where that takes me. But yeah, definitely has shifted. How about you, Sabrina?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my preferences or what I thought I would like to do for my career have changed a lot since I started my post-secondary journey. Right now, I think I'm most interested in buying, planning, category management, anything in that avenue. However, I am very open to other disciplines, and I continue to learn more every day. So it's kind of hard to choose at this point. However, something I did notice after being in the retail management program for a while, something about myself that I really learned was that no matter what I do, I still want to do something within the fashion sector of the retail industry. And also I want to be a leader or an executive at a company. And I think that's really important for me. So like I said, I'm still learning about all the different avenues, and they do all really interest me. But the good thing is that there are a lot of options, and you don't have to necessarily decide right away. You can keep exploring, and yeah, I think that's my answer.
Excellent. Thank you both. I think on the next slide, we have a few more examples of some of the things that our alum are doing in terms of working at places like Adidas and Square One. Another shopping center example is the marketing manager at Square One is one of our alum. And consulting roles like at Deloitte, where Tatiana is working in their digital strategy group. We have grads in fashion and apparel companies like Joe Fresh. Canadian Tire is a big employer of both co-op and new graduates in a number of their areas, from the digital side of the business to category management and buying and merchandising and many more. And so there are really, as Sabrina said, kind of endless opportunities in terms of the kinds of brands and companies, the types of functional areas that you can explore and build your career in going forward. All right, the next slide, please, Catherine. That is about our awards and scholarships. And this is actually coming up fairly soon this year. As one of the smaller programs within the Ted Rogers School of Management, we actually have one of the larger pools of award funding that's available to students each year. And this year we're hosting a virtual awards ceremony where we'll have opportunities to connect students with donors from companies and personal donors who've provided support for students who are studying in the retail program specifically. And this, $120,000+ awarded each year is specifically the retail program scholarships in addition and over and above the Ryerson University entrance scholarships that you may be eligible for, or the Ted Rogers School of Management scholarships that you may be eligible for, some of which are up to $10,000 a year. So there are lots of different opportunities to get scholarships and when you're entering the program, as well as when you're returning as a second, third, or fourth year student within retail. And if you have questions about how to apply for those, please feel free to ask us those kinds of things. The Ryerson ones, some of them you'll get automatic based on your application to the program, and some things like the retail scholarship specifically will have an opportunity for students to apply in the fall when you join the program. So you don't have to put together an application for those specific awards yet, but once you join us in first year in September, you'll get information about how you can apply to all of the retail entrance scholarships. And I think our last slide is about a little bit more about the RSA and our faculty. And so I'm going to turn things back over to Adriana and Sabrina first to speak a little bit more about some of the things the RSA has already done this year with some amazing virtual events that have been held so far, some of the things that are maybe planned for going forward, and a little bit more about kind of what the RSA is all about in terms of your objective and how you create experiences for students. And then I'll hand things back over to Dr. Jacobson and Dr. Mark Lee to talk a little bit more about kind of faculty, from a faculty perspective, about sort of their summary thoughts about the program for students. So Sabrina and Adriana, would you like to share with us some final words about the RSA and some of the things that you have planned this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year, as I mentioned during my introduction, we are completely online. So we have had to adapt our events to fit online formats such as Zoom webinar, and I think we might be using a different conferencing platform come this winter. So this year so far, our events have been panel discussions, and we basically invited industry professionals from certain sectors of the retail industry, and we had them talk about a specific topic. So our first event of the year was actually in collaboration with the Ryerson Marketing Association, which is the student group for the marketing major at Ryerson. And we collaborated to basically create an event that focused on the shift that retailers were experiencing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And specifically, they talked about their marketing shifts and the things they had to do in light of the pandemic. So for this one specifically, we focused on the apparel sector of the retail industry. We had some retailers such as Roots, Arc'teryx, Peace Collective, and a small retailer called Lisa Goslin Jewelry. And they were great panelists. They provided amazing information. The students were really happy with the presentation that they provided. And the second event that we had this year was actually a fashion sustainability focused event, because we noticed that a lot of students were actually having a conversation about sustainability, specifically in the fashion industry. So we invited a few retailers from that sector and that kind of discipline, and they spoke about their experience in sustainability and how they've seen it grow over the years and how they see a future for sustainability as well. And we had a very diverse panel of retailers ranging from sustainability specialists in fashion companies to entrepreneurs and small business owners in the local Toronto fashion market, and specifically they owned a vintage store. So that was really exciting as well. And we are also planning for this semester still a workshop event, which will focus more on the e-commerce digital side of things. The details for that are to be announced soon. And for the coming semester, we have a conference, a really big conference that we plan to provide our students with, which basically talks about the different sectors. We invite different people from different sectors of the retail industry, and we have the opportunity for students to learn from them, as well as participate in a case competition. Yeah, so we're really excited about all of that. Unfortunately, we can't do much in person, which would have been amazing, but there are still some very valuable events that we encourage the students to attend this year.
Excellent. Thank you, Sabrina. And our faculty are some great researchers, several of whom bring industry knowledge as well as their academic expertise, and are really kind of one of the key assets of our program. So I know we've got only about a minute or so left, and we'll stick around for those of you who can to answer additional questions. But maybe I'll ask Jenna, Dr. Jacobson first to close with a few thoughts, and then hand things over to Mark to wrap things up from a faculty perspective. Any last words, Jenna, about kind of the faculty perspective teaching in the retail program?
Yeah, I think it can be very overwhelming and an exciting time entering into your university program. And I think that if you decide to make the decision to join retail management, you'll find that you have a supportive academic family and student family of people who really care, are committed to your success, not only in the program itself, but also to your continued success after you graduate, with lots of opportunities to connect with employers and industry leaders. And this is at the foundation, built into our classes, built into the extracurricular activities that we offer, such as what the RSA offers, experiential trips, our classes, all of that builds into a really holistic and well-rounded undergraduate experience. Here, downtown Toronto, it's a great place. It's a great place to be, to learn about the largest sector in Canada. So I would encourage you to consider our program, and I hope to see you hopefully in the fall.
Thank you. And Mark?
To further extend what Jenna has said, I've worked in multiple institutions, and I would say our department is phenomenal. I've never worked with colleagues where faculty care so much about their students, so much about the program, and it really shows in our everyday activity, in teaching, and also in our research. I feel very fortunate to be working with such a great group of individuals. When I was an undergraduate student, you don't see these things behind the curtain, what goes on. But our faculty is quite dedicated, and our staff is quite dedicated to ensuring your success and also making sure that you have the good experience. In the end, we're a small program, and we understand that as a small program, there are many other programs that are out there for you that may be attractive. But within the retail management program, I never want you to be just a student number. I want you to be someone who can really make a footprint in the retail management program, just as Sabrina and Adriana has done here. You will have opportunities to experience through programs, through experiential learning opportunities, getting to know the faculty and the staff. So I really hope to see you in the fall if the retail is right for you. And even if it's not, TRSM has made tremendous strides in ranking, in being a reputation. So I feel like whether, I know you have many other choices in universities as well, but just rest assured that TRSM and the retail management program, we're really looking out for you, and we want you to succeed. So thank you for joining us. I would like to thank Sean and the recruitment team for organizing all of this. And if you have any questions going forward, any one of us today will be happy to meet or consult with you about the program in any form, or email, phone, Zoom. We're always open.
Thank you, Mark. And Catherine, could you jump ahead a couple of slides to so our basic admission requirements, we look for 1 math and 1 English, and then your overall average from your grade 12 high school program. If you have questions about that, send them to us through the chat. And on the next slide, you'll see our contact information if you want to reach out to us through social media channels, check out our website, or find my email address, or even reach out to a specific faculty member to find out a little bit more about the courses they teach and the research they do and how that relates to retail studies and careers. So thanks so much for being here with us today, and we look forward to seeing you next September, hopefully.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Sorry, it took me a second there to get my camera on. Thanks again. It was a really great presentation, a lot of really amazing advice. So I hope that those of you who tuned in today take all of that into heart when you're considering your university of choice. Keeping in mind that we are over the hour, I will wrap things up pretty quickly here. If you do have any final questions, I do encourage you to put them in the chat box here, and we will answer them as quickly as possible to make sure that you are not late for anything else going on in your lives, because I know that we have still a lot of things going on. I do encourage you as well to check out our website and look up any other sessions that are of interest to you over the next couple of weeks, as well as keeping in mind that we do have our co-op presentation this evening at 5 p.m. So for those of you who have any final questions about co-op, you're more than welcome to join us again in a couple of hours. So on behalf of Ryerson University, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope that you're all staying safe and healthy during this time, and we hope to see you in the future again soon. Have a great day, everyone.